Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and y'all, we have something to say as we get ready to spill about all of the stupidity and terrible decision making that was the apocalyptic sixth week of Big Brother 26. And despite officially having day 44 kind of ruin yet another amazing season potentially here, let's not wait any longer and get things right away by introducing my co-casters. First off, he is the true AI instigator. It's Doug Dimmadab. Doug, I want to start with you because we were so excited this week when everything started out here with your girl T-Core becoming head of household, but then she ruined everything. Are you still optimistic on the trajectory of the season? Because personally, I have questions.
Ah, I'm still optimistic depending on what goes on with like the veto and everything. I I feel like there's still a good shot that we can still have a good season. We just need to have the right things go correctly for it to happen, which probably it's not too hard of something of it to happen.
Yeah, there's still a lot of possibility for a lot of flux here. Probably just being over dramatic, but you know what? Justice for Tucker. Anyway, also joining us tonight here, someone who will also throw their best alley on the nomination block. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, day 44 has been an iconic day in Big Brother history, not for the better. Do we think this season, much like last season, was hit with the day 44 curse, or do you think there's still a way for the end game to be exciting?
There's definitely still potential for this to happen. I don't think that the season is over. I don't think that there's like a lack of possibilities. The issue is, are we going to see more people playing the game, or are we going to see more floating through the game continue to occur? At this point, I mean, whether you like him, you hate him, you love him, you despise him, whatever it is, Tucker was the biggest component of the season so far. And now that he's gone, there will be a void in this house, as we've seen on the feeds. And there will be a big shakeup, or maybe just none at all, for some people in this house, because it seems like some people are just in the ears of everyone else. So I don't know if people are just going to let other people play their game for them can still or not, but I'm hoping that some people start to stand their ground and actually make decisions good for them.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I get the feeling that, I mean, hopefully, as things kind of get later into the game, people start to turn on here. I think a few people are kind of maybe starting to switch on here and there, but nobody is completely playing a very good game whatsoever here. But I would say when it comes down to it, feels like for me, anybody who's not in Pentagon or the Triangle, I guess at this point, is likely doomed. It feels like the fact that Cam, Chelsie, and Quinn were able to infiltrate the power group and dismantle everything that we could have ever loved about this season. It really goes to show, I think, this alliance formed the first week is likely going to really be the true power in this game. Especially given who was evicted this week and the complete lack of any great strategy from anybody on the other side of the house. So I know I jinxed myself because just last week I was so excited for where the season was going, and I know I spoke into existence the downfall of the season. So for that, I'm already sorry for y'all. I apologize, but for me, it's not so much that this week eliminated my top draft pick in Tucker, but it's just the fact that everybody else on his side, T-Core, Chemo, Rabina, Angela, people that I like the most in this house, have proven kind of the most incompetent players in this group. You could probably throw maybe Mackenzie in there as well here too, and if Leah starts doing something, we could maybe have something to judge as well from her too. But you know, of the players remaining, I don't have the best hope for them. It's just this week too, just kind of I was worried about them, their longevity prior to this, and this week just kind of put the exclamation point in on that sentence there. So there were just so many poor decisions and mistakes that were made this week by so many people. I don't even know where to start, but I suppose we could just kind of go back to the beginning where this week all started and we could just roast all these people as we go along. And if you're out there listening, being like, wow, this is all really negative, yes. Yes, it is. But there are certain things in this game where if you're just keeping just a mild awareness of yourself and the actions of others, then you should be able to maneuver really in any situation. Yet For some reason, it feels like this cast is just much more concerned with all being friends after the season is over versus themselves as individuals winning. That I just can't at almost every decision that was made this week outside of like a few made by Chelsie. But let's start off this week where we
Mhm.
stood last week because following Brooklyn's eviction, it really felt like again Cam, Chelsie, and Quinn were doomed. Uh, For me, if I was ever to learn that a group of people were conspiring behind my back, I would do everything within my power to eliminate that group of people, especially the people in that group that I know for a fact I cannot trust before moving on to any other targets since those individuals have shown, the strategic forethought to make a group of people that were actively rooting against my best self-interest here. But these three also made the best inroads as well. Did y'all have any thoughts about where things were going into this week, and who do you think the true power players kind of are as we head into this end game? Doug, I kind of want to hear from you first.
Um, I I honestly don't know who the true power players here are. I feel like may yeah, I honestly don't know because it feels like maybe Chelsie, but then it's like you could say maybe Quinn, but then it's like he knows that he has to like Leah's gonna turn on him, but he doesn't seem to want to turn on Quinn. And then you got T Cord and Chemo who are trying like, oh, we want to try to protect these people, but then don't do that whatsoever, or try to put someone up. It's like it's really tough to say who's in a power position because I feel like everything is so fluid that everything just changes week by week. So I'd say for probably this week, maybe Quinn and maybe
Mhm.
Chelsie are in power positions, but by next week it could be going back to T Core and maybe Chemo or Rabina, depending. So yeah, it's very fluid.
It feels like it's less about, though, maybe more so that these people are good at taking the position, but they are absolutely terrible at maintaining it. Jack, what are your kind of thoughts on just the skill level of all the players, and do you see anybody kind of standing out to you as the major threats moving forward here?
Um, so the threats, mm, threats might be too many. I think there's a single threat that's like really the big threat in the house is just Chelsie. At this point, Chelsea's kind of running the show, even if it doesn't, even if people don't understand it. People are making decisions for her with her best intention in mind and not their best interest in mind. So like it's kind of all they've got to it. Like I don't think I wouldn't say that Quinn is like a huge threat in the house. Like maybe he can win some competitions. Maybe he can like put himself in a power position for a moment, but he's not someone who's thinking like the next couple steps ahead. I think even though he hasn't done anything in the house, Joseph has a bigger chance of being a threat when the time comes if he decides to ever win a damn challenge and stop throwing them. As for that, I don't know. Let's keep it 100. Leah and Mackenzie in the game, barely. Cam, less in the game. So whatever you say, oh, Cam, Quinn, and Chelsie are doing this, I'm like, no. No, no, no. Cam is just the tag along for the ride. Like, Cam has not done a damn thing other than win that veto. I mean, like, yes, I want a veto, take myself off the block. And I commend him for that. I think that's great. But if you told me that he had a damn strategy talk with anyone other than just talking to Chelsie, I wouldn't believe it. Like, he's not there. So I really just feel like anything with Cam is just Chelsea's game inside of his head being played that way. He's like, if it's good for Chelsie, it must be good for me. That's all I care.
Jack, I've got a question for you. Who's this Cam person you're talking about?
Uh, so we found out there was a 16th guest actually in the house. There was a
They've been
16th
there
house
this
guest
whole
house.
time.
Right. But we didn't see them until about day 40 or something in the game, maybe day 38. Um, so they're
Yeah,
there.
they really have no story for Cam whatsoever. Other than this whole I need to win a competition thing. I'm just kind of like, Cam,
Well,
you're
if
so
if you
boring.
think that's bad, wait till you find out that Cam tells the house guests that he's the extrovert of his friend group. So,
I think
don't
he
know
was
what
just trying
that
to make a
means.
joke there.
I don't know that there was a joke there. I just think that he's straight up dead to the world.
Maybe he's just friends with a bunch of dead bodies. That would be that
Uh,
I could believe that. I could believe
Comatose.
that. It would make sense. Yeah, maybe
I
yeah,
I
much
have
maybe
no
he
idea.
hangs out with like yeah, in the hospitals. Who knows?
I just want to know what Cam was like on the recordings, like when he was auditioning for the show. What did he act like that they like were like, this would be a great person to put on here? Because he has one of the least bits of personality in the show, and yet like three people have been crushing on him, I think, so far in here. And I was like, for what? Other than him being like attractive, like conventionally, what does he have to give you, girl?
Sometimes that's all you need. Some people don't need much more depth than that. So,
Oh, that's so sad.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing for Cam right now. I don't think he needs to make a move against Chelsea. I think it's in his best interest to work with Chelsea because at this point, Chelsea has been shown that she kind of is already marked as a threat to some degree. I think it's more than likely if they are targeted, he could still make a convincing argument to save himself over her. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to let other people kind of take the lead and kind of hide behind that. It's just is he going to make any moves outside of that when he needs to? But right now, I don't think he needs to. So that's kind of why I think all three of them are kind of it as the force they've shown to be the most cohesive group that are winning challenges here. So
Well, now.
unfortunately, for the other group, the other side, I don't know if we could really say that, but uh, we kind of start off where everything goes wrong here, and that
Oh,
was the head
girl.
household. And this competition was called Sound Bites. It was a pretty simple game. It was basically a memory game, but make it ASMR. I'd have a hard time personally keeping track of just sounds 'cause it's not something I feel like I practice. I feel like I'm more visual. I'm not a very auditory person when it comes to that. So like trying to like put these sounds in order, I feel like I would have a hard time with it. So I'm not surprised here that everybody is eliminated in the first three questions, leaving T-Core to kind of just stumble this week into head of household. And she says she's ready to crochet, but unfortunately, she only slayed her own game at this point. Um, I don't necessarily think T Core needed to win it. If I was her, I might have thrown it just because it's very clear in this moment that she came into this week with no kind of obvious target. I mean, everybody in the house literally is happy for her. I mean, people like Kimo and Robina are literally crying for her because she's such a good person and all these other things. It's just like, I don't think it's a situation here where I mean, if she's going to play that kind of floater game where she takes a very long time to make a decision, she needs to not put herself in decision making positions. And, you know, I don't really know if I could say that there was a any true good target for her to get taken out, other than maybe a Mackenzie, maybe Leah, or definitely for if she's going to have to take a shot, she could just continue getting rid of the ex Pentagon members. It's just a very easy excuse to throw all three of them up there and just be like, hey, you know, you're up there. But, she does have a relationship with Quinn, which makes that very sketchy. She does have a relationship also with Chelsea and Cam that we've seen here that they do have a friendship. So um, I don't know. I don't know if I really had any expectation going into this, or maybe I set my expectations a little too high because I was very disappointed by basically every move she made here. Did y'all have high expectations of T-Core going into her head of household week, and who would have you targeted if you were her?
Well, if I were her, I definitely would have targeted ex members of either the collective or the Pentagon. Um, seeing that most of the collective members left are either the Pentagon or the people that you're working with, that kind of leaves, the three. Because I would have wanted a good target on the block, regardless of what happens after AI or after Veto. And just knowing that they're so close with each other, I would have known that I had to go after that. And if I really felt like, let's say, my connection with Quinn and my connection with uh, Chelsie was like close enough, then I would have gone after the people I don't have an active alliance with. I would have put up there probably Leah and Mackenzie. Like, it's not her being mean. There's no way around it. It's just, if you do not have an active alliance with me, then there's no point in me not putting up your name. You know, I wouldn't play especially in the 6th week of the game, I would not play that scared of a game because the lines have been drawn in the sand. We know who's where. Like, that, you have floaters, and you can say, well, they haven't done anything bad. Yeah, but they can be a number against you if they're not for you. So everyone's an option, really, when you look at it like that. And, I mean, your alliance has 2 showmances in it, essentially. So you gotta get rid of it. Like, you gotta keep your showmances, and you gotta get rid of the people who are not in your alliance. And even if you have a 6-person alliance and you're not the happiest with it, maybe getting rid of someone who you don't want in your alliance is the backup to the backup plan. You don't want to get rid of a number that early on. So I would have never played such a passive game myself. This early in the game, I should say. Or this late in the game. Sorry, not early. This late in the game.
We are halfway at this point, so it is very much so. We're almost literally there's what 6 more weeks at this point. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's very much so. This is the point in the game where you have to start making those moves that get you to the end game, or start at least positioning yourself within this group a little bit stronger. I think, and I don't think any move she made here really benefited her. Although I don't think it hurt her as much as we'll see kind of, and we can kind of talk at the end of the week here, but as much so as I think it hurt her allies. But Doug, P-Core's your girl. What were your expectations here, and who would you have targeted if you were her?
My expectations was to see T Core like keep the status quo and like hopefully take out like either MJ or Leah. I I get I would have definitely targeted Cam and MJ, and if like Tucker's going up to you and saying, "Oh, if you want, I'll be a pawn," I would definitely always take that because you never know when you can get Tucker out. So I would always definitely try to probably just keep him up there, and if he loses, then maybe probably take him out. I do think that her decision with when the veto got used, that was definitely a very bad decision. I would not put up one of those members, another one of your member of your own alliance. Like she's literally even said that, like, "Oh no," and then went back on that. So that was not the smart thing to do there.
Hmm. Well, as we kind of discussed here, we do learn T-Core's goals were this week were to kind of bring Chelsie closer into her power structure here. She says the only people she's totally keeping safe are Chemo, Rubina, and Chelsie, with her final targets being the ex-Pentagon member Cam and floater Mackenzie for being the 2 biggest challenge threats pretty much outside of her alliance. But as Doug said there, Tucker basically does offer himself up as a pawn, and she doesn't want Picor to struggle with her decisions because he's just such a nice guy. And then he gets mad at her for selecting him as the third nominee. And for me, I know you said, Doug, this was probably fine to put Tucker up here, but personally, I don't think I would have ever thrown my own ally on the block because that is a number that you could use. At this point, it's still far. I mean, we're in the middle point of the game, but it's still too early to be taking those shots here. It ultimately won't affect her, I will say, but well, actually, it is affecting her, and I do really truly believe here that this could possibly be a moment here that she's really going to look back and regret, especially if the next few HOH competitions do not roll her way. T-Core definitely has, I think, the relationships to go deep in the game, but I don't think she's going to likely have people that are going to want to vote for her over other people left in the end game because she's kind of sacrificing them all here. And for Tucker, obviously, why are you throwing yourself up on the block? Like, just this whole situation is just the Cedric vote all over again, but in reverse. And it's like, did we not learn our lesson from that? Overall here, I do think Cam and Mackenzie were the right nominees. I don't think Tucker would have been someone I would have thrown up there, although I do see the strategy that they want to use this season that I feel like it just keeps backfiring for them. Um, any thoughts overall on who ultimately ended up on the block here?
I mean, you can make a case for Tucker is like a great choice to put on the block for winning the competition, so that way the veto isn't used, and you can like not have to nom someone else. But honestly, why are you so worried about putting blood on your hands if you wanted to win HOH? Why did you choose to win HOH if if you wanted this power? Like, you knew what came in tail with this. You said, "Oh, I want to win HOH. I want the power," and then you decide, "But I don't want to do too much with it." So I'm not really sure how we came to this conclusion. And I don't really think there was a strategy going into this. I really think it was just like, I'm nervous and I don't know what to do, so let me kind of listen to my alliance, but let me also just listen to Chelsie in my ear because Chelsie knows what's best.
Mm.
And
She
then
did
also
basically give
Quinn, because
Chelsea her head
Quinn
of
knows what's
household.
best. What?
So she did basically give Chelsea her head of household here. These
She
felt
did.
like
And then she also
very
let Quinn have
Chelsea
part of it
noms.
too. She said, "Oh, can you also like make sure Quinn said he's good with us, so we're good." And then it was like, well, Quinn said he's good with two members of your alliance and kind of doesn't fuck with the other four. She said, "Okay, well, we good." I'm like, no, no, you're not. Very much not. The very much opposite of that. And as much as you might like that idea, no one said that like you had to keep everyone and every alliance you ever made together. Because let's be real, you've been in other alliances and already broken them. So what's this one about? I don't get it.
Hmm.
Make it make
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm. That was were these the right noms here for Kikwa?
I think they were the right noms because like you saying like why would you put up like one of your allies and Tucker, but Tucker is a challenge beast, so if you can ever get him past the AI arena, you gotta take him out. But Tucker probably was like he was like a number, but not really for T-Core. Like everyone else in the alliance, he was closer to her to. He wasn't as close to T-Core as everyone else. Like he had the final two with like Angela, final two with Joseph. He was definitely final two with Robina, and he was much closer to he would rather keep Chemo than T-Core around. So I do feel like if anyone to do that too, it would be Tucker because Tucker probably didn't have her best of interests over everyone else in that alliance.
He gave her $5,000 later this week. He didn't have her best interest at heart.
Over the others is what I'm saying. Like
He still has her best interest involved in the
yes,
situation, though. So at least for the short term, he still would be someone that like. Here's the thing: I get the move to take out Tucker. It is a great move to get him out early. Not when he's really in your alliance and a number on your side that you need. He would have been a great shield for something that like might have happened, who knows, like this week, like he would have been an amazing shield to have him up there on the block this week. Is someone's primary target here, but I just don't see the logic in making a move against someone that is in a group that you're supposed to be working with. I don't see that logic whatsoever. But
I
I
No, I think the crochet hat was just a little too tight, girl.
I just feel like the next time you would be able to get him out, it would be too late, and you'd be too late into the game for
Well, he
that to
also
be able
lost two
to.
competitions this week here too, so he's not indestructible. Like he could lose. It's possible for him to lose. Like he's good at comps, yes, but the way Big Brother I think is structured, at least at this point here, there would have been time. We can make the argument last season with Jag. Yeah, okay, Jag won like what 10 challenges in a row at one point, at some point, and there was like a small sliver of time where they had to possibly get him out. But I would also question or kind of dare to say that I think the comps this season have been a lot more equitable. So I don't think we're seeing a lot of those same issues that we saw on season 25. It feels like they kind of hurt the backlash from that, at least from my perspective, at least at this point here. I mean, we'll kind of see how the rest of the competitions kind of roll out from this point moving forward, because there are a few staple challenges that we know of that are pretty much won by the same kind of particular people over and over again, like slip and slide and whatnot. So, might be speaking too soon. I did it last week, so knock on wood. But it, I'm optimistic as far as that goes when it comes to the game. So I do think there would have been time to take Tucker out later. I don't think she
I
needs to
also,
be the one responsible.
I also just think it's important to note that there's always the possibility of the back door that we will eventually have to see in this game. Like, it's impossible to expect that there will be three nominees throughout forever. And if you really have someone win the veto and backdoor him, I mean, that's it. Like, he doesn't have a competition now anymore to like save himself.
Hmm.
That's my personal like
Yeah,
opinion on it.
Yeah, I
I
feel
just
like the arena is probably gonna end next week. I want to say probably when the jury starts. So, yeah, I do think I agree with you, Jack, that you still have an opportunity at that point. I'm sorry, what were we saying, Nick?
I was like, I don't know if like there was, because I know there were like talks about like, oh, if Tucker leaves, are they just gonna do a battle back because of how popular it is? So with that thinking, is like, with how popular Tucker probably is, would they even get rid of the AI arena just so that they can always have multiple chances just to keep him? Would
You know
probably
how hard
be
that
like
would have
the
been
thing.
though for production. That would have const if they didn't have it planned. If they're like, okay, we're gonna do it like to week 6, and now they have to create like 3 or 4 new competitions in order to keep the AI arena around. Like, I feel like that would be kind of difficult for them to just kind of make up shit on the spot that they don't already have kind of pre-planned. And but I mean, who knows? I've seen more stranger conspiracies and whatnot. So, um, I don't think they cared about him that much because they clearly didn't do anything to rig this week. So,
Yeah,
I think I
I think that's just basis on the fact that people thought that Tucker was getting all this love and stuff from the production when in fact it was just Tucker is one of the only people playing the game in a way that's not like I don't know, very quiet. He's like the person that's actually out there doing things, exposing other people's games, not just letting it be hearsay until like someone leaves the house and then bringing it up. I think he was just an active participant, in comparison to a lot of the other a lot of the other house guests. Not that it's a bad thing to necessarily sit back and watch sometimes, but if you've got the person in front making all the noise, they're probably going to get more of the attention, just as like a normal thing.
I just feel like Tucker was good at so many of the different types of challenges that the only reason like him losing was probably him getting in his head and maybe possibly wanting to quit. But
I just feel like it was if it happened now, it could have happened at any point here.
yeah,
So,
and
speaking of Tucker, though, I do want to kind of continue the discussion about um, what kind of moves the next portion of events kind of along here in Tucker's unfortunate downfall here, and that's him getting the AI Instigator power twist, which America voted for. We learned this week that he got the power. So the special power again allows him to use a deepfake avatar of any house guest to spread misinformation throughout the house, and he has the opportunity to win up to $20,000 depending on how much America likes his troublemaking. And we gotta laugh because he starts this off pretty badly, I would say, by having Quinn, uh, the deepfake of Quinn, say Rubina should have been evicted, and now that she's not, she's in a showmance basically with Tucker here. Rubina is heartbroken at this point and it starts crying. And I think this is the point where, well, actually, I would say I guess she already started her tears with T-Core winning. So this will start our arc here of heartbroken Rubina probably for the rest of the season. She will probably be our token crier of the house. The rest of the house is confused though at this point initially because they're not sure if this is like a twist or something they have to study for like a future competition. So I thought that was kind of funny how they brought that out, but. The whole process eventually brings Rubina and Tucker closer together, and the two kiss, as well as, multiple other things that they do together on the feeds. Um, but when it comes here to kind of how things take a turn here, we have to take a side moment here to talk about Angela. Um, so, obviously, we can't have a week here without getting into Angela. So, you know, Angela is finally not a have not this week, so she was hopefully going to get to enjoy her charcuterie until that evil hag Brooklyn stole it from her. So she's just emotional to finally eat again. But the emotions are not going to stop there, y'all. I don't think I've seen anybody break down over eating a sandwich before in the show. But you go, Angela. Now, she also has a moment prior to nominations that made me a little worried for her as she comes crying into T-Core's hit a household room, surrounded by like a bunch of people thinking that she's the target this week, which almost brings to life this week. She almost self-fulfilling prophesies the hell out of herself right there. And this is kind of her state of mind as her and Joseph get picked for the veto competition. Now, just kind of a side note here, we'll kind of talk about what happens in the veto in just a moment here. But um, as we kind of head into later this week and why things kind of get a little bit crazy for Angela, is unfortunately she does have a sad ordeal that she's going to have to deal with this week. As a result of the veto competition, she has to endure horrible eradication punishment. Can we have a moment to just mourn for Angela? Because she has to literally, do 1,000 balls in the backyard while getting sprayed with goop and water? Can we just mourn for her? We have a moment for her.
The hardest thing I've ever seen.
So
Wow.
inspirational. So
She's
inspirational.
strong. You just
Just
don't understand.
like, gosh. Okay. Um, Actually, let's go ahead and talk about the veto because I think that's probably actually important to bring up here first before we get into the rest of the craziness that Angela does. But she does get picked for this veto along with Joseph, and it's the Yankee swap competition here. And in this type of competition, they have to slingshot balls at numbered robot targets with the attempt to not have the lowest score for the round. The player with the lowest score gets eliminated and gets a prize. And then again, we play Yankee Swap each round to determine which player ultimately gets what prize, including the power of veto. Um, have you all seen this competition before? Do we like this competition?
Um, I like it to some extent. But God, do I hate that, your fate can really be determined in the worst way possible from other people.
Doug, do you have any thoughts on the Yankee Swap competition?
It was. I thought it was pretty a fun way to do a competition. I thought that maybe that the what the prices were should have been kept a secret, and you don't know until you open it up at the very end. I thought that would have probably made it better, so that if you go out first and you get the golden power veto, you're basically screwed over.
Well, it's not how Yankee Swap works, though. You have to know what's in the thing to get it to swap.
Yeah.
I just feel like it'd be better to guessing, like, do you feel like you have, like, I guess, like, in Deal or No Deal, do you feel like you have the right case, or what about the other one type of? I felt like that would have been a better way to do it, but
So you're saying you would prefer that no one knows what they're getting as a gift and just hoping for the best?
yes.
Like, so you're saying that regardless of if you win the comp or not, you shouldn't have the chance to get the veto unless you can predict which one of the 6 envelopes has the veto in it?
Yeah.
So you want
I
no
hate
one
that
to have the
idea,
chance
Doug.
to
I
get
won't
the
lie.
Viper
I
V. That
like
is
I
the
like
worst
the
That's
chaos.
premise.
It's
terrible.
chaos.
It's
Maybe it's
terrible.
Like,
chaotic, but there's no chance of
yeah,
actually winning. There's no skill
Yeah,
involved in that. And there's no point in having a competition then, other than picking the first envelope and choosing what
or
order you pick the
maybe
envelopes.
or
But
maybe
even
having only the person who wins it to see what it is, and then you have to bluff.
I mean, it'd be probably be better off if they just made it a bluffing competition at that point.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I think
like,
that's a different competition.
yeah, that's the thing. We
I
talking
just
about
I just
the
thought it would better if they just didn't know.
Doug was like, I wish no one had the chance to get veto this week. I just hope the noms stay 100% the same.
Yeah, because you know what was
Like,
coming afterwards. He felt it. He was like Angela. He was feeling it. He was feeling it. Well, someone who was not feeling this competition, or any competition, as we kind of discussed earlier, is Joseph. We don't really talk a lot about Joseph here. We're not going to really talk a lot about him right now here either, because he basically gets eliminated first, gets the power of veto from the start. And the one thing I think that I will say with Doug's thing here is that I wish they would switch up the order of where the veto gets placed in the other prizes, because it's come pretty predictable as far as like, okay, the first prize that we're going to see is going to be the power veto. The very last prize is probably going to be one of the worst punishments here. So the order, it kind of feels like if you end up in like last and like second, you're definitely going to get stuck with probably something shitty depending on like what you paid. So I wish that order kind of would change, but you know, a small situation here. But anyways, Joseph goes out first, and Angela gets eliminated second and takes the power of veto from him and gives him the trapped in the matrix punishment, where he's isolated for 24 hours with no one but Matt's AI generated voice to keep him company. Which, at first, I was like, oh, cool, isolated for 24 hours. I would have totally loved that. And I also think for Joseph, it was probably better for him to just not be anywhere near anybody and talking to anybody for 24 hours. But now we're including Matt in this. Jack, I know what you're saying there. You said this was suicide inducing for you. Like, I don't want to go that far about
uh,
saying that, but like,
girl, I felt
that
that
was,
100%.
I was
I was
like,
like,
oh
I wish
no.
Angela had gotten this. She would have left the game so fast. But you know, we find out a
She
lot about
really would
Joseph when
have.
he's in there. So like, it really was an interesting time and a really interesting who got the thing. I have my own theories about this too. That I was like, some things just ain't adding up to me from this. But that I guess we should have known when it was spelled the matrix. We should have put that together. But for some reason, we all just overlooked it and thought it was just like, oh, ha ha ha, like mattress with matrix. Like that's what my first thought was, and I was like, oh, ha ha ha.
Yeah, I
It's
thought he was going
indeed
to be
much
trapped
worse.
inside like a room of like cotton on the walls that was supposed to be like he got shrunk inside of like a mattress or something. I don't know.
I I did wasn't. I thought like mats on the wall, so it was just gonna be like a white room, like padded room kind of thing. And I was like,
I see that.
I guess that's not terrible. But I kind of thought like the gym mats kind of thing, like so, like blue mats probably. And I was like, I mean, to be fair, to be separated from everyone, I thought they just like made it a little fun thing. And I was like, okay. But alas, we find out it's even worse than anyone could ever predict.
Definitely the worst punishment in the history of Big Brother. Doug, could you have survived the Matrix? Is Joseph the strongest person in the house? Did he actually
Oh,
have the most inspirational moment of the night?
I feel like if Matt wasn't too loud, and if it was like if he could just fall asleep, then it would have been too bad. 'Cause
I don't think he's
I
allowed to
definitely would have
sleep
taken
though.
that. Oh, you're not allowed to sleep?
No, I think you're
Yeah,
allowed to. Can
Oh,
you?
I don't
I
know
thought.
because like they don't let. Well, I mean, I'm sure you saw this week on the feeds that Chemo and Cam got yelled at for sleeping. So
You
I
have
don't
to
think
be
they're
awake
allowed
from
to.
10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That is the
Yeah,
rule. 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. you have to be awake. But when you're in solitary confinement, they might wake you up during that time, but technically that would mean you're allowed to sleep for at least 12 of the hours, right? And I just think it came down to more so the twist of Matt yelling in your ears every 2 seconds made it impossible to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I think
At that
I
point,
think we take
I'd
it
be
back. We
praying
need to
for
give
Big Brother to
Joseph.
yell at me.
We need to probably give Joseph more credit because that was so brave, so brave. Um, well, Mackenzie goes out next here, deciding to keep her last chance luau Hawaiian vacation for herself, and that goes
For
to
her
our final
family, how dare
three. Oh,
you?
yeah, sorry for her family. Well, let's
Yeah.
not bring that up. We don't want to hear about what her and her brother are going to be doing on this trip.
Their
I
honeymoon. Thank you,
we don't need
honeymoon.
to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that. In the next round, but Cam missed his shot here, right? So all Tucker and T-Core had to do is just hit anything, just something, and they move on to the next round. But for some reason, T-Core just shoots into the void trying to get a high number instead of just like going for a grouping of targets. We were talking about this when we were watching this, and we're just like, oh, another dumb move T-Core made this week. It's just like,
That was the moment that solidified for me that T-Core is not, in fact, like that extremely intelligent. She's actually just like nice to talk to. At that
mhm.
point, I knew, oh, she doesn't think that much. I kind of got that from the nominations, but then I was like, okay.
It was giving kind of like she has like an amazing social game, but her strategic game just does not exist. But you know, maybe we could only hope that she comes to her senses, especially after
Told
the
you
drama
that
that she gets
Cersei
through this
have.
week. But
She's that
um,
girl.
yeah, unfortunately, this forces a face-off again between her and Cam, which Cam wins, eliminating T-Core and having her take the power of veto from Angela, and her being the reason why Angela has to endure the radiation eradication punishment. Now, in the final round, Tucker tries to go for a high number because he has to go first, so I understand why he shoots into the void here, but unfortunately he misses, allowing Cam to just make an easy shot for the win. Tucker decides
Doing what?
to, yeah, doing what T-Core should have done before, right?
What was that, like a
uh,
17 or a 12 just to win the whole thing? And we were all like, wow.
it's so underwhelming, right? Just such a like a, I mean, if Cam, it feels like Cam winning a veto this way is yeah, it feels like this is the correct way for him to win. Just an extremely
It feels
underwhelming
like
victory
if
made
you're
on
gonna
the
have it be
mistakes
like
of
the
other
end,
people.
if you're gonna have it be the end, like final two, it should have been all targets are open now. Once again, like that way, it wasn't just a okay. If someone fails, then I'm good, because it was so. It just it took the momentum out of the whole occasion. We're all just like, oh,
hmm I also do think there's a problem with them knowing the score that they have to beat. I think to some degree, I get why,
yeah.
but I'm like the person who goes first is always at a disadvantage there. So, um, I see an argument for just not telling them what score they need to beat, but is what it is. Um, Tucker at this point decides he's not going to take the power veto, or no, decides he does take the power veto at this point from Decor because he knows that it's going to get taken from whoever has it from Cam, and he decides to sacrifice himself and take the very last punishment while he gives her again the end of days $5,000 prize. Um, Tucker's just so sweet. Instead, Cam has the final punishment, gives it to Tucker in exchange for the power veto, and Tucker has the BBAI assist punishment, which has him research questions in an encyclopedia at random whenever the BB voice asks him random questions. Did you guys have any thoughts overall on the veto or the punishments? Doug, I'll hear from you first.
Um, I thought Angela's punishment was like a little extreme that because you have to do it one by one, but I thought it was interesting that they introduced like punishments in here. and then you can
Forget this
actually
is your
like
first season actually watching the show. Like
yeah.
yeah, they usually do like
It's
I feel like
like
in this one they have one really bad punishment, that makes them stay up all night at one point. Like I think there was one where they had like kick like a bunch of soccer balls, like score like 1,000 goals or something like that too, um, in
Oh
like a
my
span of a couple
god.
hours. Yeah, they ask them to do some kind of some cray things sometimes. Um, I can't remember any other punishments off the top of my head. Jack, can you think of any?
I mean, other than specifically like when people have like the leotard or the unitard kind of thing going on, that's usually the worst. Or there's like the Matt had, I think had for a week the cutout guy of the new show that was coming out for CBS. You
Oh
know what I'm talking about? He had like
yeah, I
the
remember
notes
that.
the whole time,
Hmm.
and he was so excited at first because he thought he was going to hang out with the guy for real, and we were all like, oh, because we didn't know why he was so happy.
I mean,
And actually, I have a very important thing that I need to bring up about
yeah.
this veto that really upset me. How are you gonna okay, this to me is crazy, and I understand that you don't like Angela. How are you gonna steal Angela's veto, knowing that your veto is gonna get stolen for more than likely a bad prize, and not just steal like Mackenzie's getaway when you're not even like friends with Mackenzie? I'm just trying to understand.
Well, clearly
Like,
she's after Angela here. She don't care about Angela's
I
feelings.
mean, I'm just trying to understand. Like, I really am. I'm not trying to be mean, but I like there were just so many times where T-Core did something that I just didn't understand this week that I was like, uh, some of this is not forgivable, y'all. Like, some of this can't be explained through logic without the conclusion of like there is no logic.
Especially considering she already put Mackenzie up on the block this week, and Angela hasn't been put up yet. I mean, I see what you're saying there. It makes more sense to kind of go after Mackenzie than it would be Angela. But as we'll learn here, uh, T-Core's really only options of nominations at this point that she feels are Angela or Leah. And at this point, Quinn has been actively pushing to save Leah. And I have to go back a few weeks ago here because we were talking about this situation with Leah and Quinn a little bit from the perspective of T-Core and Chemo way back when Quinn was head of household and had the deepfake head of household. And he was thinking about possibly putting Rubina up to begin with, right? And we were saying, and they had the information here from Leah that she does not like Quinn. Instead of giving this information to him, they sat on it for far too long. And now Quinn is still siding with Leah. So now they're trying to work not only with Quinn, and so they can't really piss Quinn off now, and kind of are kind of back into a move here where they have to kind of save Leah, at least from T-Core's perspective. I still think Leah would have been the correct move here. I think I would have put her up here. But then again, that was until Angela does her Angela thing. Because after Tucker uses the Instigator to have Rubina crown Angela the best butt roller, while Angela is told by herself to keep, rolling her butt for Chuck, Chemo paints a target on Leah for having all the information from all of the men who she wrapped around her finger. And at that point, we're like, okay, Leah is probably going to be person, right? Well, Tucker's final form has himself remind everybody to not trust Quinn or Chelsie. And after hearing all of the facts, Mackenzie, she thinks she solved the crime, y'all. It's Angela. Because who else would think of rolling her butt for Chuck would be funny other than Angela? So, Tucker warns Angela her name is coming up, and after her brutal, life changing, inspirational punishment, she officially goes nuts and decides that she needs to turn on Tucker because he's just such a good actor. How is Angela going to feel special when he has Rubina? He's not going to take me to the end. He's with Rubina. So Angela goes to Leah, MJ, and Quinn, of all people, because we know how trustworthy Angela and Quinn's relationship has been this whole entire time. and tries to turn the tables. But instead, Quinn, obviously, uses the information to go to T-Core to sell her out. So despite Angela and Tucker having a confrontation later, Tucker still wants to be loyal to Angela and tries to convince T-Core to put Leah up, but Quinn's influence, I think, is a little too much here for T-Core, and she decides that Angela is her best option and throws her on the block when Cam comes off. Angela loses it again, the veto ceremony calling out the Sixth Avenue Alliance that she's on the bottom of it without actually naming its members. At this point, I was like, what the hell is wrong with Angela, y'all? And were we worried at this point that she basically self destructed this whole week, that she was going to be a goner?
Wow. I kind of thought she could be a goner, but, you know, that wasn't what was in store, and most people did not want it, I don't think. Like, a lot of people felt like Angela was good for their games, and some people felt Angela was bad for their games. So I feel like the idea that Angela was still in the game wasn't negative enough for enough people. But her getting put up on the block doesn't really change a lot, I guess, for many of the people in the house. I mean, anyone who's on the other side of the house, I should say.
Hmm. Doug, what were your
I don't know if
thoughts
you
from
settled
the
that.
Angela? Do you blame
Uh,
her on turning on Tucker? Because I feel like you, Doug, you will see Angela's logic for turning on Tucker. You will justify this somehow.
I I don't know how there's a way to justify it. Like, Tucker is literally going, "Hey, people are saying that they think you're the AI instigator," and Angela literally thinks, "Oh no, he thinks I'm the AI instigator. He's turning on me." It's like, no, he's just warning you. Like, she's just being paranoid, and I guess the paranoia has just been too much for her in this house. I
Mm-mm.
think I do did think that with MJ still up there, that Angela still had a chance to stay, but it wasn't looking too great from there because she was just absolutely tanking her game, going to like Tucker with their conversation, and oh, it was a whole mess.
See, what
Right.
Angela needed to do was after she had that whole spin out, if she wanted to actually like prevent herself from going on the block or anything like that, she needed to go to T-Core and been like, "Girl, T-Core, it's my bad. I had a moment this week and I did something stupid and talked to people." And she either had to spin the story that she regrets it heavily, or she was using it just to get information to see if everyone would be on board. And she could have just been like test failed, girl. Everyone wants to get rid of Tucker, so we have to do something.
Well, do you really think
But
Angela was
no.
going to come into this with a good excuse as to what she's doing?
Well, no, I don't think she would. But I'm just saying, for anyone who finds themselves in such a situation later on, this is like your two options. Like what you think the person may or may not believe you on. This is that. Like,
To be fair, I
and
think the
for
only
her,
way Angela gets into or anybody gets in this situation that Angela's in is if they're Angela.
yeah, I agree. Well, you would be surprised. A lot of people are much more. Um, I don't know what the word is, but a lot of people are just this dumb. They truly are just this dumb. They don't think
No,
before
there's
they
a
explain
level
it,
of
and they
like
just have to.
paranoia. I think that the house breeds. You know, like when you're in a game like this, there's just a lot of pressure. I think you put on yourself. And I think that's in any show like this when you're on TV. It's very easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself and let things negatively affect you versus keeping things in perspective. And I think as well too, for some reason, when you are in these games too, like you are kind of feeling like your life is kind of on the line to some degree. So yeah, I kind of can feel and pressure Angela's putting on herself. Obviously, she's saying this is a dream. She wants to be on every single CBS TV show. She's already on Dr. Phil, so Big Brother was next. So like she needs to go far.
Survivor?
She's putting too much pressure on herself. Well, obviously she's going to get on Survivor after this. It's very clear. Um, but and then Amazing Race probably with Quinn or Tucker, or maybe
But
Leah.
Doug.
who turns out to be her BFF later. But I do kind of want to at least get into the vote here because I think we were all hoping, kind of like what Doug said, that there was a very possible chance that Tucker was going to win the AI arena and Mackenzie likely would leave. I think we were all hoping for the downfall of Painless's team, for him to finally be eliminated from a draft early on a pre-jury. I mean, it still could happen. Probably less likely now. But this is when Chelsie, basically, I think makes the power move of the season thus far, and uses the opportunity to really start pushing for Tucker to go. She gets Cam,
You mean
Leah,
Angela?
yeah, nah, it was Chelsie. It
Angela,
was
yeah,
Chelsie.
yeah.
Angela came up with the idea, but I think it was Chelsie the one that put it into action. And I think everybody already had this idea in mind here. Like this is a kind of a no brainer of a move. It's giving me like Survivor China when James had two idols. Like obviously we need to take him out. Like it's not that big of a move, Amanda. Okay, you Amanda anyway. But Chelsie was the one who basically got all the votes here. She gets, again, Cam, she got Leah, she gets whoever comes off the block between Angela and Mackenzie on board. The last person they need to really convince here is Quinn, who initially wanted to stay loyal to Tucker, only to blindside him later on when he could take the responsibility for it. But he seemingly is on board, even though this would likely mean his closest allies, Chemo and T-Core, would be blindsided by his vote. It was really all coming down to the AI arena, but did y'all think that the flip was going to go down? Because I was sadly going into this week feeling like Tucker was doomed if he did not win this.
Yes, I felt the flip was definitely coming after we had seen the Angela things. I was like, oh no. And T-Core bad move after bad move after bad move after bad move. You could have, quote unquote, had like the votes to keep anyone safe, but instead you decided to put up two allies from the Sixth Avenue. Even if you don't consider Angela an ally, it's more likely that she has a better chance of voting to keep Tucker safe than, I don't know, your quote unquote alliance, Chelsie or Quinn, who are both probably going to be gunning for him. Leah, who's probably going to be gunning for him. Like, come on. It was not hard to figure out who made the worst moves this week.
Like, what were your thoughts? Or did you think the flip was going to happen?
I honestly thought that Quinn was gonna vote to maybe keep Angela, and then at that point, I literally did not know what T-Core was gonna do and what she wanted to happen. I felt like it could have gone 50-50 no matter what. I was not expecting Quinn to flip because, like you said, I thought Quinn wanted to keep Tucker so that he could take Tucker out himself. But yeah, it was a bit surprising to see that it was a 5-3 instead of a split 4-4 vote.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see what T-Core would have done here. I mean, I think kind of clearly after this week, we know she probably would have kept Tucker, right? She probably would have evicted Angela. Who knows, really, though? Because,
I don't
um,
know. She didn't play
yeah,
defense.
who knows, though? Because
Yeah.
she's clearly doing what Chelsie wanted to do. So, initially, when I saw the 5-3, I kind of thought maybe T-Core was in on it. Um, and they were letting, the other three cast sympathy votes. But clearly that wasn't what happened here. So, sadly, at this point, we have who were the votes to keep Tucker here: Rubina, Joseph, and Chemo as the only three votes that kept Tucker in. And sadly, again, I jinxed myself as my first draft pick, and
Avenue.
Tucker goes home. Uh, Sixth Avenue, yes, justice for Sixth Avenue, justice for the friends. But let's talk about Tucker here, y'all, because the day 41st four curse strikes again. For me personally, we lose a huge player to the season, much like Izzy last season. This season, I think we have a little bit more momentum. Hopefully, that things can stay exciting here, but dear Lord, are we missing out on his presence for the rest of the season here, especially with him not making the jury? Like, if he could have just lasted, I think just 2 weeks, we needed him to at least get him on the jury, then we would have been in a really good place as far as the entertainment value for the season goes. But as far as the game goes, I do think it was broken open in a huge way to the point where we have a lot of players that are kind of, like we've kind of discussed here, at kind of, I would say, at a varying levels of terrible to gameplay. So at this point, if any of them have a sudden epiphany as far as the fact that they need to, what they need to do here, anybody can kind of take control of the game here with Tucker God. Uh, but I do think we needed a stronger resistance against the ex-Pentagon members, as far as to keep the story a little bit more interesting for the next couple weeks. Um, and he did just infuse a lot of great energy into the season. Despite him not being the most amazing player, he at least again had a point of view and would commit to a target versus the rest of these flip-floppy ass people. So he does get rewarded with the $20,000 AI Instigator prize, though, so not a bad way for someone to go out who ultimately leaves in 11th place here. So, um, Doug, do we have any final words here for Tucker?
Tucker was one half of the entertainment of this entire season. He made this preacher phase of the game very entertaining and made my first season of watching Big Brother Live amazing. Because I think without him, it would have been a bit boring and stale. And yeah, it would have not have been this much fun and chaotic, like with him going to Cedric, like, screw the votes, I'm still taking down Angela. And then being able to break up the Pentagon Alliance was great to see. I do think that it was really stupid of Tikor to put up Angela instead of Leah, and I think it was a bad gameplay move on Chemo for not actually pushing Leah as hard as he should have been doing, like how him and Tikor didn't push Leah at all when Quinn was HOH at all, even though they said they should and do that, and it was a bit frustrating to see that instead it was Quinn that was pushing hard for Leah to stay, and Chemo just wasn't really doing anything to try to change T-Core's mind there when they're literally locked at the hip right now in the game, it seems.
Their commitment to being actively inactive is so frustrating, and I don't think it's going to benefit them well moving forward. We never know. They might be able to rebound. I mean, the Pentagon Triangle at this point have rebounded, so it's possible that things could shift again back here, but who knows? It's going to definitely be a lot harder without someone good at competitions like Tucker on their side. Jack, any last words here for Tucker?
Um, I thank Tucker for making this an actual season worth watching, and I hope, and this is a big hope, I hope that a lot of people can learn is the key word here, from their mistakes, and hopefully they understand that, playing passive has its benefits at times, but clearly towards the mid-end game, that is not the time to be doing such things. I mean, if you're in a great position, for like some of these people who've never gone up on the block, maybe it's fine to do, but not everyone can necessarily say that, and especially if you have allies who have been targeted multiple times by other people, you know, it's great to think that, oh, I'm not going to be the next person out then, but what is your game going to leave after that?
Definitely agree.
Like,
And
what's left?
Hikor, we can only hope that she'll wake the fuck up because, like, she
Chelsea got
actively
that spell on
gave
her.
Chelsea her head of household here, and it makes no sense. Um, and we can kind of get into some spoilers here because we kind of know what happens now that Tucker's gone. We kind of know the direction of where things are kind of heading here. So, if y'all for whatever reason haven't seen even tonight's episode here, because by the time this goes up here, the Sunday night episode will go up here. Don't listen. Don't listen to the spoilers here, y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and talk about who our new head of household is. And I have to vomit for a moment because Quinn is officially our new head of household. Not the direction I was hoping this game was going to go in, but not a very surprising result here. As I kind of said, I was not expecting anybody on T-Core's side to win because obviously she's probably the best competitor out of them. But the most surprising part out of all of this is that he has officially decided to go after Tucker's former allies in Angela, Chemo, and Robina as his nominees for the week. I think Ravina initially started out as his initial target, with under the guise of Angela being a possible target as well, since he's basically her. They have their public feud. But who knows what possibly could happen here, or if their minds change, or whatnot. Because out of all of the people to win the Power Veto this week, Leah has decided she is going to finally do something and has won the veto. She now has control. It's totally possible that she saves her bestie Angela, and then who knows who could possibly be a target here? Maybe Joseph. Um, there's a possibility. I mean, really anybody could kind of go up at that point. Here, even T-Core herself. So, Jack, want to give you the final thoughts here first as we head into week 7. What are your final thoughts as week 6 comes to an official close here?
I think week 6 is the biggest uh moment in this game right now. It is the biggest shift in the game. I don't know if I want to necessarily want to say it like that, but unfortunately, you know, this is going to have a huge impact on the game. I mean, Tucker was really playing the most game out of anyone in this house, at least the most outwardly playing the most game, I should say. And so without his presence here, he has a lot of allies that are basically fending for themselves, many of which have never won a competition, or at least many of which have never won a competition that was against the rest of the house. We have an HOH from someone directly against them, and when you know it, even though he's in an alliance with Chemo, he put Chemo on the block without a single thought about it. So I wonder if that Visionaries Alliance ever was a real thing, like I said. I don't know why anyone believed Quinn after he had 7,000 alliances with everyone in the house. It really goes to show a lack of understanding the game of Big Brother on the end of both T-Core and Chemo to ever believe him again after he lied to them multiple times. Um, and I think we see this. I have to at this point just label it as the selfishness of T-Core is going to ultimately be the downfall of her game, because she not only put up basically her biggest alliance members and the people closest to her, but now they're going to continuously get attacked again and again. Like, even if Quinn is the HOH this week and can't play next week, we've got people like Cam, we've got Chelsie, we've got Leah and Mackenzie, who are all probably going to be willing to do the exact same thing over and over again. And I think it says something that Quinn immediately goes for Rubina, who hasn't won a competition, hasn't done anything in the game against him other than being in a relationship with Tucker, really. I think it really shows that, like, his mind is, I have to destroy everything that Tucker was once created to. And so this is where we see, for some reason, the alliance that was outed in the very beginning of the game, that was controlling the game at the first, gets outed and starts to become dismantled slowly but surely, not even only by the rest of the house, but also themselves. We see them now regaining power, and people are cool with that and allowing it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know when the people are going to wake up and like smell the coffee. Like, come on, girls. It's not rocket science. Not everyone can be on your side. It's an individual game. A lot of these people are playing Chelsea's individual game. A lot of people are still being friendly to Quinn because he's in power. But that's all there really is to it. I'm nervous for anyone else who is not Quinn or Chelsea's like number ones.
I was gonna say
And
I
to
was.
see
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say to see that not happen is like crazy, but no, no, that was it. That was it for me.
Yeah, I do agree with pretty much every point you made there. I will say though, for me, and why I'm afraid again for my draft team here is it just feels like he's going to eventually come to his senses here, realize that the petty move, if he wants to be so petty to destroy what everything Tucker really loves here, he would keep Rabina in that house for as long as possible. Send her to jury. So that way they stay apart for as long as possible. So that way, there's a chance that whatever flame they have is not there in, 2 months. But, hopefully, I would much rather see them together. So if she's gonna leave, send her out now. Don't go for my boy Chemo or Angela. Doug,
Ruby's my team, so please don't do that.
please do. Please do. After Mackenzie. We need Mackenzie out first. Doug, though, I want to give you the final words tonight here. Any final thoughts as we head into what is likely the final pre-jury eviction of season?
Um, I feel like this will probably be the most important eviction of the season because I think it'll probably determine whether or not if like T-Core and them have like any chance of be having Tucker go away not be such a bad move. Like we don't know with who's gonna if Leah's gonna use the veto, if uh Quinn is gonna who he's gonna put up. I've heard about maybe Joseph getting put up. So it's gonna be very interesting to see who goes home. Like I feel like even with Angela going home might be best for T-Core's game with them and being able to have a little bit more wiggle room because Angela's just such a wild card. You can never really count on her for anything really, except for creating more chaos and uh, creating fake scenarios in her head, thinking that they're real, and then coming after you, even though that is not happening, and then her crying to you afterwards. So I really, I would like to see, sadly, maybe an Angela Booth here without unless whoever the third nom is gonna be is like MJ. That'd be the best case scenario, honestly, for here. I doubt we'll actually see that.
Why don't you put it out in the universe to get rid of our cray cray mother of goddess of all? How dare you? How dare you? Our
Not my
final
only
thoughts on this
mother.
cast be going against Mother Angela. Uh,
Oh
uh,
wait, can I say something? I
yeah,
forgot something really
sure.
important that happened. So Mackenzie and Chelsie have this new alliance where it's like women of God winning kind of thing, and I'm very nervous because um with our other queen Julie Chen going crazy on the feeds with God right now, I'm like, is anyone going to talk about how they're afraid of Julie possibly like trying to make sure one of these two win because they're both very godly? Like, I want to see if anyone says anything about that. I'm really interested to see. I know it won't happen. I know no one's going to say anything about it. I'm just interested.
So, does Julie even have that type of influence?
I don't think
I
so.
mean, everyone claimed that she
Like,
did when it came to Tucker. Everyone claimed that production had all that when it came to
I don't,
Tucker, so I don't know why she
I don't
wouldn't.
think she
Yeah,
like
she's a
we don't
producer.
even see her for like we only see her for a third of the episodes.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't. I will say this about the Chelsea MJ alliance though, because I do think that that will be a very important alliance moving forward, and if the Pentagon breaks apart, it's going to come down to who is able to kind of secure, I think, MJ at that point between Chelsea and Quinn. And I think Chelsea is doing the better job of it. So I would not be surprised to see Chelsea and MJ make a deep run in this game together, sadly. So, but it won't be because of production. It will be because just everybody else is terrible and stupid. Um, um, I think, but yeah, Julie is definitely a little questionable, but I don't think she has that much influence anymore. I think she's just happy to have the one night a week that she's able to host a competition that Ansley didn't take away from her. So, Definitely
Thanks,
a
Doug.
very interesting place that we're kind of setting off on here, though. Week 7, I think, as Doug said, will be a very important week that will decide the trajectory of the game. Whoever leads this week, it will be again a very important presence to be gone, just because this will be someone who will not be voting in the end. So we will have our final 9 locked in, which will include our jury of 7 and our final 2. So stick around, stay tuned. We'll kind of see what happened. I'm still sad by Tucker's exit here, but we're still excited. We'll still be optimistic that unlike Doug said here, hopefully Angela will just last the whole end of the season. I'm officially Team Chaos at this point. I want nobody to win our draft here, and I want Angela to be the winner of Big Brother 26. Gonna speak that into existence now, and hopefully that's what y'all want here too. But if you don't, tell us below in the comments. And again, thank you so much for listening. This has been one of the longer podcasts we've done here, but definitely needed because there was a lot to talk about this week. And make sure you like and subscribe because it lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And be sure to catch all of our continuing coverage on all of the shows airing right now, which is just right now Big Brother 26 and Global All Stars, as well as who knows what coverage we'll be doing for, again, Challenge Season 40. Drag Race Mexico ends this week. Drag Race Philippines is still ongoing, as well as The Anonymous. We still need to watch that and get up on that, as well as the premiere of some old favorites like Survivor and The Circle this month. Crazy. We're already in September, y'all. But until next time, and on behalf of my co-casters, Doug, Jack, this is Renegayde signing out. But remember, y'all, keep spilling that tea. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.